What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Gotta Get Back, Samurai Jack and Review Show. Welcome to episode 17, guys. My name is Kyle, your host. If you haven't seen the show before, guys, it's every episode of Samurai Jack that we're reviewing is a recap, favorite scene, favorite character, a score out of 10, and maybe some Jack facts or some trivia at the end if we have it. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Go check out the other content. And here we go. Okay, guys, so episode 17 starts off with a wanted poster for Jack, and it says that he is the most dangerous man on the planet now. And it says sometimes he wears the hat, which can be seen the same one that I'm wearing, essentially. And so there's like a rough sketch of Jack. They're looking at the poster. He's in another bar. It's all these creatures, these bounty hunters that want to take him down. And Jack is like, oh, dude, I'm so used to it by now. He's about to take a bite. And he like kind of scurries around. They're shooting machine guns through the table that he's scurrying under. He's running around. They're shooting like behind the bar with the kegs, and the kegs like drip down. He takes one of the pitchers. He actually fills it up, and Jack's like, "Yo, if I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go out drunk." Okay, so he's like, and like puts it down. But Jack, it doesn't matter, dude. He's a master assassin. But what he does is actually run over, and he runs into the Scotsman, and the Scotsman is back. And he's like, "Look out, laddie." And he puts a shield there. He saves Jack's head from like a trident there, throws a grenade. That blows up the bounty hunters. They run away. The Scotsman's like, "Hey, by the way, dude, I need help saving my wife." My wife? And Jack's like, "Yeah, I didn't know you were married." And he's like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "I love the girl." And he's like, "She does this thing with her hair." And there's a funny like kind of segment or sequence where they're like running away and they're running back towards the castle through like the fields and the forest. And the Scotsman is just talking about his wife the whole time. And it's like this guy who was like this big brooding guy the first time. He kind of like opens up to Jack, and he's just a softie. He's like, "Yeah, the demons kidnapped my wife. I need your help there." So they go back to the Scotsman's castle, where there's like they're playing the bagpipes, and there's a whole bunch of Scotsman's like people or friends or whatever. They're all wearing kilts, and there's like this little castle, and they're all like kind of eating at the table. There's like fish bones and everything everywhere. And they're all like, "Hey, he has returned." And then they look at Jack, and they're like, "Who is this little lad?" And they're like, "He's wearing his pajamas or something. He looks weird." He's like, "Did he drop something? Why is he bowing?" And they're like making fun of Jack. And then the Scotsman's like, "Hey, this is the bravest warrior I know." They're like, "Lay off him." And they're like, "He helped me in battle. He's going to help me get my wife back." And they're like, "Oh, okay, sweet." And then they have like a little dance. They serve Jack like a haggis, I think. And he's like, "What is a haggis? It smells terrible." And they say it's like a sheep's stomach with meat in the middle. I'm like, "Oh, dude, it's disgusting." There's like an ancient elder Scotsman that comes over. He's wearing like a skull, and he's super old. It's weird, and he's like speaking in different language. There's like a serpent that comes out of his sleeve, but then he believes that Jack is a serpent. I'm like, "Dude, have you looked in the mirror? Like, bro, what are you doing?" But he's speaking in the ancient tongue, so Jack doesn't understand him, and he's like, Scotsman tells him like, "Hey, you need to pass the test because they believe that you are a serpent." And Jack is like, "Okay, what kind of test is it?" And they cut over to like a rock throwing contest, which is like a shot put basically. And there's like this big dude, and he whips this huge rock, and it goes pretty far. And then they give Jack the small rock, and he can like barely pick it up. And he's like, "Oh, don't worry, Jack is going to do fine." So Jack throws it, and it goes like 2 feet. And they're all disappointed, and they're like, "Okay, well, I guess that's it for Jack. We can't trust him." And then he's like, wait a minute. And then he goes over to the huge guy, and he's like, "How many rocks do you weigh? Or how many stones do you think you weigh?" And he's like, "Oh, about 20 probably." And he's like, "Oh, it's so nice to meet a real warrior." And he shakes his hand, and then Jack like trips the guy and then throws him onto the rock. And they like celebrate, and that's like how he proved himself. But then I'm like, if Jack had the strength to throw the man who weighs 20 rocks the first time, why didn't he throw the small rock farther? Doesn't really make sense. But basically they accept Jack, and the Scotsman's like, "All right, now we can go." And they're like, and you think they would get all the Scotsmen to help them, but they don't. It's just Jack and the normal Scotsman. And he's like, "Oh, I'm the mellow one." He's like, "That's why I don't hang out over there." And they're like, "Okay, interesting." So they go to like the Skull Castle. There's like Aku's minions or whatever, but they're like robot kind of beetle guys with like little guns on there. Not the craziest design, but they're like these little round guys. There's like 7 of them out front. And Jack's like, "Oh, we can take them." or the Scotsman's like, we can take 7, no problem. And Jack's like, no, a frontal assault would be bad because then they alert everyone. He's like, we need to find your wife first and then we can figure out what to do. So they like scale the side of the building, and they're sneaking around. They're like, the Scotsman's like, oh, they're already brewing the pot, and there's like a big cauldron in the middle. So they're gonna like eat her, which is weird. But basically he's like, oh, I see your wife up there in the window. Like, and he's like, oh yeah, that must be her. She's so beautiful. And then the Scotsman's like all excited. The robots don't hear him. So they keep sneaking around and they're going like up these corridors, and they finally get to like the front door, which is just got like one bone on it. Jack slices that in half, and they open the door, and we just see this lovely woman behind me here. And Jack is like terrified, and the Scotsman is really happy to see her. He's like, oh, my lovely. And she just berates the both of them the entire time. She's just yelling at him. She's like, what took you so long? She's spitting in his face. She's like, I've been up here for so long. And Jack is like, this is the woman you love? And like, she just yells at him the whole time. And she's a larger woman. So Jack and the Scotsman need to like both carry her. Why she can't walk on her own, I don't remember. But basically they both like split, like one has the front, one has the back, and they're carrying her down these flights of stairs. And she's just complaining the whole time. And they get to the front. And obviously she's not being quiet at all. So all of like the demon robots or whatever are there in the middle. Jack goes through and he's like slicing them up. The Scotsman is attacking them. They get through a good deal of them, but there's just so many. And she's yelling at them the whole time. And she's actually kind of motivating them because she's like, oh, is that the best you can do? And they're fighting. And eventually they just like run out of energy and they're exhausted. And then she just gets like tired of it, basically. So she freaks out. She goes like beast mode. And then she just starts wrecking everyone. And Jack and Scotsman are like, wow, this is impressive. And she takes everyone out. She does like a ground pound where it like electrifies the floor. And it's like, oh, dude, she had the strength the whole time. She just didn't know it. And so she's still yelling at the Scotsman. The Scotsman goes over and he's like, oh, I knew you could do it. He's like, they're talking to each other. Then she finally like lightens up and she's like, oh, you're a sweet man for coming after me. She's like, never change. And Scotsman's like, let me introduce you to my friend. He's like, wife, this is my friend. So I don't even know if he knows Jack's name yet. But Jack gets like a big hug. They're going to leave the entrance. And then at the very end here, Jack messes up because he's like, well, we need to find another way out. And they're like, why? And he's like, well, because this entrance is so small and your wife is so, and then they're like, Jack. And then she's like, oh, and Jack starts running. And it's like, dude, he's just going to say that was a large woman. And so, he sprints out and she goes after him. She like breaks through the entrance because she's so mad. And it takes down the whole tower. The Scotsman is like in the rubble and he's like, don't hurt her, sweetheart. He's like, he's my friend. And that is how the episode ends there. Okay, guys. So for a magic sword for this one, it's got to be this just brute of a woman here, the Scotsman's wife, because she may not be what we expected, but they kind of like try to rescue her, and then she ends up actually saving them by taking out like all the demons instantly. So there was a good bit of humor there. But yeah, she had the strength. She was an interesting character design. I like that they didn't go with the classic like beautiful princess in a tower and like, oh, my hero, and like had Jack and the Scotsman do all the work. She was like, no, I'm going to take care of myself. And you can tell that, she's a great match for the Scotsman because even though she kind of belittles him, she like can look out for herself, and the Scotsman obviously is attracted to someone who can do that. So yeah, they're a great match, but kind of a mismatch, but perfect for them. And Jack, like, it's nice because Jack actually like recognizes the love at the end there, and like she's a sword, and he's like, oh, that's nice. And yeah, she's got to be the magic sword winner for this week. For Portal in Time, guys, it's just got to be the castle, not the demon castle at the end, but just the Scotsman castle. When they come up on that, it's like over a hill, and then there's like I think there's like water around it, almost like a moat, and it's just like this big castle, and it's really cool. I like the inside design of that too, but just the like overlying design, that was my favorite shot in an episode that didn't have too many sequences, but that was a nice shot there. We didn't really have any triple frames or anything like that in this episode, but I think it did good with the time that it had. For a score for this one, guys, I'm going to give it a 7-2. It was okay. It wasn't anything crazy. The Scotsman was entertaining. It was nice for him to come back, but I thought he came back a little early. I would have liked some more time to pass. But yeah, just like, I really like the dialogue where he's like gushing on and on about her, and Jack is like expecting this like nice, sweet woman, and he finds just this monster of a woman. And so that was a good little twist, and just some comedy elements. And Jack and the Scotsman are good, and they have like almost like a buddy cop dynamic, even though Jack is quiet and the Scotsman is kind of the one who opens up more. But we see a different layer to the Scotsman than we had before. The action was okay. It was just a lot of slashing. There weren't a lot of like frame cuts or anything, so I don't think this was like any one of the crazy episodes, but it did well with, like I said, with the screen time that it had. And it's not a bad episode. It's just more of like a filler. Okay, guys, Jack facts for this week. We do have a couple ones here. So the first one here, after the scene where Jack passes the throwing stone test, the Scotsman is carrying Jack on his shoulders. The Loch Ness Monster is seen swimming in a nearby lake. So that's really cool. I did not pick up on that the first time. And then the other one here, guys, this is one of the few episodes where Jack is bested in combat. Even with the help of the Scotsman, he's about to give up fighting against the Celtic demons, likely from pure exhaustion. So yeah, this is one of the few times that Jack is not the best warrior in the episode. So a nice little twist there. And those are the two Jack facts that we got for this week. Okay, guys, well, that's it. That's another episode of Gotta Get Back. That's episode 17. So we're making our way through season 2. Thanks for checking out the channel, guys. Again, I've been your host, Kyle. Go check out the other content. There's plenty of it and plenty more to come. But this has been another episode of the Samurai Jack in Review. So like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell notification. And until next time, guys, gotta get back.